Hi, it's Kirby here from Luviri, and today we are going to be doing a creative eye look using the Be Perfect Carnival palette. And our Sassdoll lashes. You guys might notice that I have very hooded eyes, so what we're going to do is map out a fake crease above where the actual crease is. To map that out is use a really sort of dark purple, so I'm going to use the color Blackberry. It's just this one here. On camera it does look a little bit like a blue, but it is more of a purple shade, and we're just going to use that to map out where our crease is going to sit. So I'm taking a really fine brush. This is the Morphe brush and it is the M312. Taking a little bit of product on my brush, tapping off any excess, and I'm just going to start to map out where I actually want that crease to sit. So this is going to be a little bit of a cut crease look. We're going to be using some really bright, vibrant colours. So I have already primed my eyelids and used concealer as my base, just so it gives something for the eyeshadows to pop and lay onto. So we're going to start with that. So once we come through with our concealer to cut the crease, we are going to take a little bit of that away, but this is going to give us our base to work on. Got it mapped out, we can deepen that shade. So I'm still using the shade Blackberry, and I'm using the same brush, and I'm just going to really go over that and really deepen out that shade. We want it to be quite dark because we want quite sort of a seamless blend between the cut crease, and I'm just sort of flicking it up at the ends here. So the reason why I'm going to be using the Sassdoll lashes is because they are quite a thick, dramatic lash, and this look is quite intense, so we want to sort of bring it all together with the lash at the end. It's always a trust the process kind of thing with doing eye looks. They always look a bit scary before they start looking good, so just continue with the process. And the best thing about makeup is if you don't like it at the end, you can always just wipe it off, start again. I always recommend to people, if you are starting off with doing being creative with your makeup looks, do your makeup when you don't have to go somewhere. So your makeup will always look better when you're not going anywhere. So do try new makeup looks before you're actually going somewhere. Trial it a few times, and then when you have an event or something, you know that you've got the steps down pat. Alright, so now that we've got our base started with, we're going to add in this coral shade. So it's a very fluorescent sort of orangey pinky shade, and we're going to use the same brush, just give it a good clean and just go right on top, and we're just going to slowly start blending these two colours together. Don't worry too much if it does land on top of that purple shade, because we're going to go back in and deepen that up afterwards. I don't want too much of the colour to show through, so we're just doing it sort of 50% on the last shade and 50% on the clean skin. And we're really going to take our time to buff these two together. So I'm just laying the product on there to start with, just to map out what I want the end result to sort of look like, and then we're going to go through with the buffing. So sort of light circular motions. You don't want to be too heavy-handed, so just sort of like holding it like a pencil and just really sort of doing light circular motions to buff those two together effortlessly. You don't want to apply too much pressure because you're going to start picking up that product that's down underneath this coral shade. We just want to sort of fuse the two together and get rid of any sort of harsh lines. It is hard when you're working with purples because it is such a deep shade. A lot of the time you might get staining and things as well. Purple is a really hard colour to formulate as well, so we just want to really make sure we're blending these two together really effortlessly. And be tempting to go in really hard when you are trying to blend out purple, because it's not the easiest, like I said, to work with, but just applying a tiny bit of product and really blending super gently, you'll get the best result. If we go in too hard, that's when you start getting patchiness, because you're picking up the product from the skin and not just blending the two together. If you find it easier, you can use a bigger brush, and that way you're not using as much pressure on a precise brush. Just trying to diffuse these edges. If you do find it's a bit too hard to diffuse the purple into this orange shade, you can use a lighter purple to diffuse that harsher line and then go in on top with the coral color as well. Just applying a little bit more of the coral shade. Blending is what takes the most amount of time with any makeup look, but it is important to really take your time with this step. We don't want the look to look patchy or any harsh lines in there. And then we're going to blend that shade up into the brow again, so we don't have any harsh lines, and down onto the bridge of the nose. Perfect. Okay, so for this outer corner, I kind of almost want to make it like a purpley black. So I'm taking that same little brush and I'm just going to mix the black beach and the blackberry together. So it's that really deep purple shade and a black, and I'm just going to sort of create almost like a false wing on the outer corner here. So you can see it's looking pretty messy at the moment, but we're going to go through and clean all of that up in the end. So we're just wanting to make that outer corner super deep and dark, but still have that purpley sort of undertone to it as well. Through and clean that up at the end and make it really nice and sharp, so it doesn't matter if we do have sort of fallout coming through underneath. This is why I always do my eyes first, because I find that I have to clean up a lot of, this palette's really good, it doesn't have a lot of fallout, but I like to be a little bit messy with my eye look so that I can clean it up and make it sharpen it up afterwards. So to get rid of everything underneath here, I'm going to use a little bit of our lash cleanser, and on a cotton tip I'm just going to make sure that's nice and damp. So I'm going to take off the majority of this underneath here first. So because my eyes are hooded, when I do this, it looks really perfect and seamless. When I relax my lid, then you can see that we're going to get a little bit of transfer of the concealer up onto this purple. So I'm going to remove a little bit more of the purple here. Awesome, we'll go ahead and do the other side. I'm going to be using a concealer. And I'm going to use my Jar Cosmetics CC3 brush. So this is a really flat brush and it gives a really precise sort of application. Looking sort of down into a mirror and just a tapping motion to tap out that crease. And then once you're happy with where the eye primer or concealer is, just fill in any of the gaps. A really crisp line, and we want it to sort of blend effortlessly into our skin. If we have a patchy base, then what's going to happen is the colours we put on top are going to be patchy as well. So you really want to make sure you get a really nice clean application for this part. Perfect, I'm happy with that. Beigey sort of colour here. I'm just going to pop that right in my inner corners using a really dense small brush. Just tapping it into the concealer here. Yellow from a James Charles Morphe palette. And I'm just going to place it in here. So sort of just after we place that more beige colour, I'm just going to pack that in really well. the orange is going to start coming back into play. So we're going to take a really bright orange and move it into more of that deeper sort of color that we used on the top. So that corally sort of color. So this is just a true sort of orange color here. Again, from the James Charles palette. And I'm just going to pat that sort of on top, maybe 50% on top of the older color and 50% on the fresh skin, or should I say the concealer. You can see in my crease here too that there's a line, so I'm gonna have to go back in with the yellow and just really pack that in so that we don't see that creasing. We're taking it right up to our crease line up here. You'll notice I'm mostly just patting, and then I'm going to slightly go in and blend these two shades together, but I don't want to mix the shades in with this purple color because then we're going to start getting a little bit too much going on. Gently patting that in. A slightly deeper orange color, sundown shade mixed with a little bit of the mango. Just tapping it in. And for the last shade, I'm going to mix in together this Blaze, sort of a red color, with the chili pepper shade. And that's going to tie us into that purpley pink shade. And we're going to go back through and blend those two together. This outer corner, well, not outer corner, but outer part together. Blackberry shade, the first color we used. And I'm just going to sort of lightly buff these two together. Take some white eyeliner and place that underneath here. Reef. And I am going to press that in on the inner corners. And on top of that white eyeliner we just laid down. The shade Lagoon. And do that in the middle. The deep on the outside. Connect that to the top here. So we're going to pop on our lashes now using the Luviri Stronghold Lash Glue. And we have our Sassdoll lashes here, and they've measured up perfectly on the eyes. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply just a thin layer to the actual strip. So this does go on white and will start to dry clear as it becomes more tacky. And there is the finished look with our Sassdoll lashes. Give us a tag if you decide to recreate this look. We would love to see it, and we'll see you in the next one. Drop your suggestions below on what sort of looks you would like to see next. Have a great day.